How are you guys? All right? It's morning here, and it's raining. Well, not raining, but it's overcast and there is no power, electricity. My battery is empty, so it's dead here. Dark and dead. Well, not dark, it's morning, but it's everything is off. So it feels strange. It's like quiet. Quieter than usual. So anyway, I hope you guys are all right, and you're going to move house soon. I hope you guys know where you are moving yet, but you'll find a good place. That's the way life goes. If you are a minister here in South Africa, in our church, for instance, every 3 or 4 years you are called to a different town. To a different congregation. And then you move. So in your lifetime, you move 10, 15 times. And the first time you move is when you are young, when you finish studies, then you have no kids, or maybe you have a baby or something. And then maybe you have 4 kids. So those kids grow up in a house that moves every 3 or 4 years. That's tough. So I hope if you move now, it will be the last time, at least for the next 3 or 4 years. But anyway, it's not nice to move. Tannie Annette and your nephews moved just a month or 2 ago, and it was not a nice feeling. But anyway, we are doing Laat my lammers wei, and we are busy with hoofstuk 17. Chapter 17. We have read about the Israelites moving out of Egypt, after all the plagues, and how they moved into the desert on their way to Mount Sinai. That's where God was sending them. During the day, He would and He also gave them food, because they complained about everything, food and water. They complained about those things. So God provided that. The birds and the manna and the water from the rock and stuff like that. So God looked after His people. But it's not officially yet the Israelites, the nation of Israel, because there was no formal relationship between God and the people. So in this chapter, we are going to look at the establishment or the establishing of this formal relationship between God, the Lord, and Israel. And in the process, He's going to give them all kinds of laws, sacred laws. And we're going to read about that. So about the covenant, Moses went up the mountain. That's the mountain that they were aimed at, that's where God led them. And then He made His covenant known to the people. So all the details of the agreement was recorded in a book called the Book of Covenant. So everything was written down. Moses built an altar at the foot of the mountain with 12 pillars, symbolizing the 12 tribes. So this was quite, let me just check what this is. So then Moses took the blood, from the animals that he prepared, and sprinkling half of the blood on the altar, and then he read the Book of Covenant aloud to the assembly. The people standing around him promised to obey God according to this covenant. They responded, "Everything the Lord has said we will do and obey." Everything the Lord has said we will do and obey. So from their side, they promised the Lord that they will obey the covenant and all that is within this covenant. Then Moses sprinkled the remaining blood, the other half, on the people, stating, "This is the blood of the covenant that the Lord has made with you." So it had two sides, blood on the altar, God, and blood on the people, the nation of Israel. So following this ceremony, Moses went with Aaron. There was 2 or 3 other people with him, Nadab and Abihu, and 70, remember the 70 elders that they chose? All of them went up the mountain, and on the mountain it is said that they witnessed the glory of the Lord. So it must have been a sight. I don't know how, what it looked like, and how it went, but they witnessed the glory of God. So now, about the meaning of the covenant, what did it entail? It served to renew the original promise God made to Abraham and his descendants. Remember what he said, "I will make you a big nation, more than the stars, the sand of the sea," and so on. Now, this is the beginning of the nation, the 12 tribes, this covenant. Now, through this covenant or this pact, the Lord declared the Israelites holy, signifying that they now belonged entirely to Him. They are His people. The people were regarded as the apple of God's eye, receiving protection through, remember what we read in the 10 Commandments, His jealous love against sin and the devil. So He would look after them, the Israelites, with this jealous love, where He will not allow anybody else to interfere with His people. The covenant also reaffirmed the promise that one day a Redeemer would eventually be born from their nation to crush the head of the serpent. Remember what we read there in the beginning, where God promised after the fall, after Adam and Eve sinned, you will crush his head, and he will bite you on the foot, or something like that. But now that was a promise that one day somebody will come to crush the head of the serpent. And this was reaffirmed by God, that from Israel, the Israelites, the Redeemer will be born who will crush the head of the serpent. In return, the people were required to be faithful and obedient to the Lord. The Lord provided extensive laws and rules covering holy places, holy persons, all the various offerings. There were purification rites, circumcision that was important to show that they belonged to God, festivals and fasting. There were prescriptions for the Sabbath. Remember the Passover, when the night when the last plague, that was the beginning of the Passover, where they had to find a lamb and slaughter the lamb and put the blood on the frame of the door so that the angel of death would go past their house and not kill their firstborn, but killed all the firstborns of the Egyptians. That was Passover. So that was established as a yearly festival, so that people will always remember what God did for Israel whilst they were still slaves. And also the Great Atonement Day, and all these laws and festivals and rights and all kinds of stuff was included in this whole agreement that the people of Israel needed to do on a regular basis as rules that God laid down for them to obey. Well, the covenant also mandated certain institutions that will distinguish Israel's worship to God to be different from other nations. Holy places, that was there was a holy place where the people gathered to serve the Lord. Initially, whilst they were traveling in the desert, it was called the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. It was built, or it's a tent, of course, but rigged in a way that God specifically suggested. There are pictures of this tabernacle. So long, so wide, so high, and all those measurements were exactly given by God for this tent of meeting. So it considered three parts or three sections, consisted of 3 parts or 3 sections. There was the outer court, so it was like a courtyard with very specific what do you call it, heining, encampment, basically. It was surrounded or camped off in a certain way to form a courtyard. There many people could gather inside this courtyard. That was called the outer court, the holy place. And then the holy place, or the most holy place. The most holy place contained the Ark of Covenant. So it was enclosed. It was a small area, also enclosed with drapes and stuff. And inside was the Ark of Covenant. It was the box that was built by Moses according to God's strict prescriptions. Inside were the 2 stones, the tablet stones that Moses brought down the mountain with the law written on it or engraved on it. The rod that Aaron used when he demonstrated to the Pharaoh. It was like a miraculous piece of wood. And then, remember, Moses needed to put some manna into a pot. It was the only time they were allowed. It was allowed that manna was stored, because that pot was also going to go into the Ark of Covenant. So those 3 items were inside the Ark. And it was then put inside the holiest part, the most holy place in the tent of meeting. Then there were holy persons, the priests. They were all descendants of Aaron. They were appointed to offer the sacrifices and gifts to the Lord. So they were a group of people selected, and that was their job. The high priest was the head of the priests, and the only person who was allowed to enter this most holy place, which he only did once a year at the Great Atonement Day, to offer the atonement sacrifice for the people, to sacrifice for the sins of the people. Once a year, the Day of Atonement, the priest, the high priest, went into the most high holy place, so that he could then offer to God for the sake of the sin of the Israelites. Then there were the Levites. They were chosen by God to serve the Lord and assist the priests in the tabernacle's work, including teaching the law. So they were like ministers, and to teach. Remember, there were many people, millions of people, Israelites. For all of them to go to the tent of meeting and to be taught there was a great job. It was not a job for one person. So the Levites, that was part of their job, is to also teach. And there were also some holy actions, like the offerings. They needed to include sin offerings. These required blood sacrifices. I know this is a bit technical, but remember, we are now learning about how God decided to make this nation his nation. And there were certain rules and regulations for or in this covenant. And what the people needed to do was then the following. They needed to do this sin offering to show the Lord, like we would pray and ask God to forgive our sins. That was long before Jesus. Jesus came and did the final offering for us. So we don't have to do the offerings anymore. We don't have to go and offer a lamb or anything. The lamb, Jesus Christ, have been offered. So they required to do this blood sacrifice regularly. And at the time, doing this offering showed ahead to the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus Christ. There were thanks offerings to say thank you, to express their gratitude for how well God provided for them and His goodness. And certain holy times were like the Sabbath. Every week, the Saturday was a Sabbath, a day of rest. There was the sabbatical year, every 7th year, when the land rested. So if you planted crop every 7th year, that piece of earth needed to rest. And then there was also the year of Jubilee, every 50th year, where the nation would have great festivals. Of course, there was the Passover, the feast of unleavened bread, which I told you came from the 10th plague, all of what they did there. The Pentecost, celebrating the new grain harvest, and the Feast of Tabernacles, remembering the wilderness and the wanderings in the wilderness. So even later on, when they were established in their country, they needed to remember that their great parents wandered in the wilderness. And that's the way that they had to live. And of course, we talked about the Great Atonement Day, a day for reconciliation of sins and so on. So, the covenant at Sinai established Israel not merely as a family, but as a holy nation, setting up all these rules we spoke about. And it was written in the book of covenant, and it was detailed and had to be run every day, every year, like a fine clock, ensuring that the covenant from the people's side work according to what was agreed. And God designed all of this, divine design, and He wanted the people to live according to His laws, so that He is His people, or they are His people. Okay, so this is quite long, so I'm sure you will split this into 2 parts. I just wanted to do the whole chapter 17, but I will tell Mum that you can split it into 2 parts. All right. Well, you're listening to the second part now. So, sleep tight. Remember, Open will love you too. And God willing, I will speak to you tomorrow. Sleep tight, sleep well. Tomorrow is another day that the Lord will provide for us. We pray. Love you. Ciao.